I thought about this for this podcast. I was like, I hope that China doesn't then try to take us down.
The only thing that we can do is try to be the change you want to see in the world, which is to say, if China tries to shut our podcast down, to keep telling the truth as best we can, as kindly and respectfully, and I think it's important not to make claims that you don't understand. All good?
Yeah, man. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
How did you celebrate?
I did everything everyone wanted me to do. No.
Yeah. I saw your Instagram story and laughed. Or Henry's.
Did it have 2 parts? Because I only saw the part. Okay, it was so just Henry, you complaining.
Henry had someone handing you a birthday cake while you said, I will do this, but let me just say this proves my birthday is not for me.
Yes.
You're not doing this for me. I had no idea the context. Okay. It's just someone handing you a cake and you're going, you're not doing this for me.
I know. I
thought it was hilarious.
You sent that to me and you're like, I just look like a jerk.
No, it's hilarious. I loved it.
So what happened there was I was given the cake. I was like, thank you. It was made for me. It was a bunch of fruit and dark chocolate, which is, with
That's
candles.
What you like.
Yeah. And I blew it out and I went to eat it. And they said, no, we didn't get the picture. And I said, are you kidding me? Like, do it again. They relit the candles and then put it in front of me. And I was like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
This is officially for everyone but me.
Yeah, I don't want this photo. I want to eat the berries.
I want to eat the berries right now. And
that was your second birthday cake of the day, too, I saw.
Was it?
Well, Henry had a second one on Instagram as well.
Oh, God. And then we went out to grab some sushi.
Yeah.
And we go to this place often, and they know us there. And Henry said, it's his birthday. I said, oh, it's your birthday. You have to get dessert. I said, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I don't eat sweets. And, if my brother wants one, if he's going to have, we can wait 10 minutes for him to eat. And they go, oh, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So they come back to the table with sparklers. And, first, it's the dessert menu. And I go, thank you, but seriously, I don't, I'm not going to eat any of this.
I'm good. I just want to go home.
You have to. I was like, no, the sushi was great. Yeah. Like, the sushi was so good.
I don't want to spend any more time in this restaurant. I just want to go home.
I want to leave.
I want to see my dog.
I want to play Smash Bros.
Yeah,
I was like, it's my birthday. Yeah. I'm going to play Smash Bros.
This is what I want to do.
And so they come back with sparklers and 4 shots of tequila. And I'm like, again, I don't drink.
Well, but the restaurant doesn't know that.
They don't know that.
That's actually
They're trying to help.
That's a nice audible. They go, he doesn't do dessert. We'll get him tequila.
I'll definitely drink. Yeah. So what was interesting, and this happened probably 3 or 4 times over the course of my birthday, was people asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I told them either there was a favor that they could do for me, or with everybody, I said, please donate to charitywater.com or charitywater.org/charisma. I want to hit a record for me. Yeah. And they said, you don't want that. It's your birthday. It feels weird to get you something that's not for you. But I said, no, it is for me. You don't understand. This is for me. This is what I want. This is what I'm requesting. He said, it's okay. I've got this.
You're being selfless. Let me get you something you don't want.
So my mom got me a book that I have on Kindle already. Sick. And sent me a physical copy.
Sick.
Our assistant, Heather. And again, these are clearly nice. They're thinking of me. They're trying. Got me a stand for we got these gaming headphones for Borderlands, which is like, okay, now I'm not going to put the headphones on the table. I'll put them on the stand.
Yeah. And the stand takes up just as much space
meanwhile, I shot a video that day on the importance of getting rid of clutter in your apartment and how and everybody's getting me stuff. And it was nice. It was thoughtful, but it was interesting because I'm sure I do this. I reflect on myself. We all want to make people happy in the ways that we want to make them happy, but not bar none whatever they request.
Well, a lot of times, this is the love languages, 5 love languages. Yes. We often try to make people happy by giving them or doing for them what would make us happy. And that's a huge relationship buster, is people will give these gifts that they want to receive, and the person receiving them is like, this is trash to me. Yeah. What I wanted was for you to cook, or I wanted a hug, or I wanted a donation. And then they're like, well, you're ungrateful. And it's like, you didn't give me what I actually want. And so there's 2 people
I was explicit.
trying to do well. And then, a lot of times this is why couples break up.
Interesting. Yeah, I appreciated clearly everybody was thoughtful. Everybody thought that it was my birthday. Yeah. Everybody tried, and I appreciate that. And and it's nice of everybody who got me something. And at the same time, it made me reflect, because I do the same thing. We've earned money with Charisma on Command, and I've been trying, because my mom will say, I'm stressed out at work or whatever. I've been trying to buy her out of her job. I've been trying to say, I have enough money now to pay for you, and insisting, and she won't do it. And so at some point, I have to listen to what she's telling me with her actions and her saying and go, oh, this isn't what she wants. This is what I think she wants to make her happy based on
my values, which is not working a job.
My mom does the same thing, which is she sees me wearing the same shirts and the same pants and goes, Char, you need new clothes. And I go, no, Mom, I really don't. I'm really good. I don't need new clothes. And then in the mail, I get a bunch of new shirts and shorts.
And then you donate them.
And something gets donated. Because I just like wearing the same shirts all the time. Yeah. So that was my birthday. It was fun. It was great.
The podcast audience has noticed, by the way. Did I tell you?
That I have this only
There was a comment.
4 shirts.
Ben and Charlie just own the same shirt in 4 different colors. I went, yes.
Let me count the colors.
You're not wrong. Short answer.
I do have 3 whites and 3 blacks.
Listen,
for sure.
You guys are on to something. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. All of my clothes are from H&M. And then I have some expensive Lululemon shorts, which I don't know why we have those. But yeah, so that was my birthday. You were in Outer Banks.
I was in North Carolina with my family.
Good times?
It was a good time.
Anything to share for the cast?
I got censored.
Yeah.
It was awkward. We already talked about it, so we don't have to rehash it. But we were talking about politics, and somebody said, what you said upset me. I said, cool, let's talk about why it upset you. Let's come to terms. Am I wrong? Are you wrong? Let's do a melding of the minds and come up with whose makes more sense. And they said, no, I think we should just avoid the topic. And when I'm around, I'd prefer you just didn't talk about stuff like that. It's like, what if it gets brought up? She's like, one of us should just walk out. I was like, okay.
And the circumstance was that she brought the topic up, correct?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember. But I just thought it was interesting because no one else in my life is like that.
Yeah.
And it was Ben Shapiro's whole catchphrase is facts over feelings. But I've never watched a Ben Shapiro video, so I didn't understand it.
Reels, man.
And Joe Rogan talks about sensitive people and how they don't care about what's right or true. They just care about how they feel. And this is all just give nothing to me because none of the humans in my life think like that. And then here was this person being like, I don't care who's right. I don't care if my feelings are justified. I had a feeling. And so you should change your behavior because I had a feeling. And I went, should we assess if your feeling makes sense? Or what about if I have a feeling? What if you doing something like eating upsets me?
Yeah.
Do you have to immediately stop eating in my presence because it upsets me?
Well,
should we talk about if my feeling makes sense? But it's not someone I'm super close with. And I was just like, I'm not going to rock the boat here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to spend as little time with you as possible.
Well, what's interesting is there's no attempt to universalize a principle. So there's no... The principle of let's discuss it is we believe that through free dialogue, better answers will be achieved upon which we can both agree because we inhabit similar realities, right? That's the principle. If the presumed principle being proposed is if someone is upset, other people must accommodate them.
Yeah,
because
no matter if they're upset for a good or bad
because
or whatever.
We're not going to investigate if it's a good or a bad reason.
My only thought was this is insane because if I just say your presence upsets me, your hair upsets me, whatever it is,
you can't universalize this
this
principle.
is insanity. I can put you in. I could just banish you with this same philosophy if I were a dick.
But I'm going to play devil's advocate now. The answer that this person and similar feeling people would give is, well, you don't really mean that. You're not really upset. You're just trying to be manipulative or whatever. But I think the point stands, which is if we're going to treat a feeling, regardless of exploration of its merit or justification, as something that other people need to adjust to, that creates a circumstance.
To be fair, there are times where her presence just is worse than not her presence. So if we did do this rule, there'd be a lot of time where she wasn't allowed to come hang out. So it would be a dangerous rule. Yeah,
I think, and we've mentioned this, but I've talked to friends in relationships. I think this is a problem, particularly in romantic relationships, is that you find your mommy and your daddy in another person. And one of the nice things about that relationship is whereas everywhere else in your life, or maybe not for this person, but for most people, you take responsibility for your feelings. Like somebody says something that is technically not mean or rude, but you have a bad time with it, you have to mull that over and deal with it and figure out how to socialize with them while recognizing that they didn't actually do anything that bad. But with mommy and daddy in your relationship, you get to go, I had a feeling, you fix the world for me. You make the world shift and change landscape in order to accommodate how I feel.
You mean like the fact that when me and your girlfriend had or your ex-girlfriend had a weird interaction, she called you and went, Ben was rude to me.
Yeah.
And I went, I wasn't, dude.
Yeah.
I just am not her friend.
Yeah.
She's your ex. We weren't friends when you were dating. And I was pleasant. And
I'll give the context here. So,
go ahead.
So we broke up. That Thursday, we broke up on a Monday, go out to a place, which in retrospect, of course she was going to be there.
Yeah.
I bump into her and it's like, oh, God. I'm still raw and sore, and say hi. That same evening, she bumps into you.
Me and another friend of ours.
And another friend. And she says, hey, guys. And you're like, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
And you're not mean.
No.
You're not like, hey, how was your last 3 days been?
Yeah,
Is everything okay? Because
wasn't excited to see her, but I was nice.
Because she was my girlfriend, not your friend. And the feeling that you had, honestly, was one of polite awkwardness and please let this end.
Yeah.
And what she sensed was polite awkwardness.
Yeah.
Please let this end.
And the solution was to call you and just ream you because we were rude.
And what her feeling was, which I accommodated at the time, was we lived in the same house, therefore they should treat me different. And today my stance is you and them, for whatever reason, did not form an independent friendship.
Sure.
If you're upset about this, the person to look to is yourself or them. But
or me.
Or certainly not me.
She had my number. It's like, look inside, be like, why don't these guys want to be friends with me now that I'm not dating Charlie?
Yeah.
That's one answer, right? Just go, okay, clearly they don't want to be my friend anymore.
Yeah.
I wonder what I didn't do in the year we all lived together.
Yeah.
Or call me. You have my number.
Be like, why are you being... we had something really cool.
Why aren't we friends anymore? And instead she called you and said, you have to fix this.
So I became, and this was a theme in the relationship, responsible for feelings of her. And it created in me behaviors that were, in retrospect, embarrassing, where I then contacted you and we had an honest conversation where you were like, I wasn't so bad to her.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do, but I'll say sorry if it'll make you feel better. And I was like, yes, do that.
You should do that. You know what's interesting though? I think some people do outsource the responsibility for their feelings. In my relationship, I actually feel like I took responsibility for my girlfriend's feelings and for my own feelings.
Yeah.
So if I was upset, I would not think, what did she do? How could she change? I was upset. I went, what should I do differently to create a better, behavior or reaction or situation in some way, So if I want something more from her, instead of just asking for it or telling her she's not doing it, what can I do to elicit that or create it with my actions?
Sweet and make her want
I'll be sweeter. I'll do this. Yeah. And then when she was upset, I was not like, oh, how could she be sweeter to, it was not a mirror. It was not a yin yang. It was just me being like, I will own all of our unhappiness, my own and yours. You don't take responsibility for fixing anything.
I wonder if that is, I guess what we described is where both parties outsource from different times, but I think what you're describing, where one person is just the responsible party for the feelings, I think is actually more common potentially. And I'm only saying that because in my last few days, I had a conversation with someone that I used to see, and they told me about a relationship they were in. This is a girl, and she was taking all of the responsibility. Like, this person cheated, and then she was setting up couples therapy. It was what is driving you to do this? Let me handle this.
What am I doing that's making you
why
cheat on
can't
me?
I trust you? Why am I having a hard time with this? And it was responsibility for both, and then of course the cheating continued and was discovered later.
That's
and it
fascinating.
was a sad thing. But I think that it's important not to idealize the person who takes responsibility, I think, because there's a pathology in both sides.
Sure. Yeah.
Clearly
I'm not saying I'm the good guy.
The person who's outsourcing responsibility, we see they're being childlike. But the person who's taking all of the responsibility is kind of playing God or control freak, where they think that if they can own everything, they can make the world...
Well, I would actually say I just assumed during that relationship, I just assumed everything was my fault. So there's this sense, there's this insecurity that it must be my fault. The person I'm dating is perfect or has the potential to be perfect, and any deviations from that I've created. Why? I don't know, because I blame myself.
Yeah, original sin.
Yeah.
I also think what I see in you, and sometimes is this belief that with enough effort, you can control the world.
Sure.
That if you just squeezed hard enough, you could shape the world into any shape that your heart
just mold it to my will.
And there is a weird...
That feels good.
Yeah, at some point you go, no, I can't.
Yeah.
I my own emotions are enough to.
If it's a good belief, though, in terms of the sense that it feels good
for a moment,
except for all the havoc it wreaks on your life.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was another sad story that I heard last night about just rampant cheating and it's no good. But so we got birthday stuff. I've also been watching. There's this interesting Bill Gates documentary on Netflix. You haven't seen it?
I have not watched it. I know it exists.
Yeah. So 2 things. One, which is small. I notice on Netflix, because they don't have to make anything fit a certain size, that all of their original stuff that doesn't fit into the 30-minute, 1-hour slot needs an editor, because they just have extra scenes that don't contribute. That's one I've watched. A Dog's Life. We watched The Finding Neverland, and it was 6 hours, and it could have been 2. This is probably 3 hours and could have been 1.5. In any event, it's on Bill Gates. Fascinating. One, did not realize how whip smart that dude is.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know a little bit of his story?
He
was being hired by legitimate companies when he was like a freshman to code the power, like the dam's power plant, because computers were brand new. And
wow.
So his school had him, you know how class schedules, you have 500, 1,000 kids.
Yeah.
And there's all these constraints. Like there's only so many teachers that are teaching physics. So for everybody who needs physics, they do have to be in that class. But you can't have drums downstairs in the band room at the same time as symphonies upstairs because the drums are too loud. So there's all these random constraints.
This is high school or college?
High school.
Okay.
And they were doing it by hand. And they said it used to take several people all summer of just brute forcing these schedules to get it to kind of work.
Yeah.
And so they went to Bill Gates, and with like a week or two.
Well, he's like 15?
Yeah. They went to him and his buddy, and with like a week or 2 left in summer, they just coded on these old jank computers and got it out at the final moment and wrote the schedules for everybody. So he was going to be a somebody when he was 12 years old.
He's just brilliant.
He was brilliant and retains information, and people are shocked. But of course, what's interesting about him recently is that he's been doing the philanthropy stuff. So he's focused on what was it? Sanitation was the big one. Toilets that need no energy. And he's coming at the water crisis from a different angle, which is we go, okay, water is polluted. We're going to donate to charity water. They're going to dig a well and get new clean water. And he goes, why is the water polluted? It's because people are pooping in the same place that they drink because they don't have toilets, and they just dump their feces into the river.
Oh, interesting.
What if they had toilets that... And it's fascinating. What if they had a toilet that generated energy? Because it's got methane in it, and if you burn the methane, you actually get steam power. And what if every time you took a poop, it was energy positive?
Yeah. I saw a guy speak on this actually.
It's super fascinating. So that was one. That the other one was on disease, and he's been trying to eradicate polio, which still exists in the developing world, particularly Nigeria. And then the last one was on climate change. And he's coming at it from nuclear.
I thought he was malaria too.
They've got billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So really, really fascinating. I could tell you more about it if you want to see it. Check it out. But so here's what happens. He's trying to eradicate polio. It's going to be $200 million. There's only like 3,000 cases of polio in the world, but getting to 0 means it doesn't come back. It's like it's an endangered species and it's gone, which is huge. So they're trying to get it down. They get it down to 30 cases.
Wow.
But there's a terrorist rebellion, and they start killing vaccinators because they think that they're sterilizing the population. And so now 200 billion turns into 400 billion, million turns into 400 million, which turns into now billions of dollars to get from 30 to 50 cases a year worldwide to 0. So he's sunk billions of dollars and is like a hair's breadth away.
And this is because they're murdering the doctors because they think the doctors are coming in to make them infertile?
That's one thing. The big problem is they can't get everywhere. There's no maps of northern Nigeria. And, okay, we'll just get a map and we'll drive around, we'll figure it out. Oh, well, if you meander too long in northern Nigeria, you could be killed.
Yeah.
And they've killed vaccinators at the door, and they've done bad things. So... that's happening, and he spent billions of dollars, and it's awesome. They've gotten rid of thousands of polio cases, but per polio case, it's not that cost effective at this point. And so I wanted to just pose to you, I know you don't know any of the data, but do you have any inkling over what the big problem is that you would tackle with 5 billion, 50 billion.
Well, polio seems like an interesting one because how many people were dying a year of polio before?
So it doesn't always kill people. It was literally, there were like 10,000 cases worldwide, I think, within the last 10 years. So there weren't a lot.
Interesting.
But I think
someone he loved as a child got polio. Is this like a Batman situation?
I think what he's saying is, how come we got rid of it completely? And these people, we have the vaccine. We've had the vaccine for over 50 years. Why is this still happening? It started. And it would be a real feather in our cap as an organization if we could say we eradicated polio. So for fundraising in the future, eradicating polio is a really big thing to be able to say that our private philanthropy did.
Got it.
So I think that's part of what drives him is if we could just get it all the way, we vindicated this organization.
Got it.
But so what would you do?
I don't know. I mean, my impression is that malaria is what kills the most people. I'd have to look into it. It's like malaria and then intestinal worms in Africa.
It's crazy.
I think are the most ravaging and cheapest to solve. So that's my initial inclination, but that's just based on one book. That's just based on effective altruism. Yeah.
Well, the other thing that made me think, and they touch on it lightly, is all of these things that he's done, with the exception of toilets. Toilets are an economic constraint. They're very expensive to get these toilets. He's building this nuclear power plant. He builds a plant that cannot melt down. The way that Chernobyl melted down, the way that Fukushima did, they had these backup generators. If this plant gets hit by an earthquake, it just sits there. The power just goes off. So there's no meltdowns. And okay, who's going to build a nuclear power plant? Well, China's got to do it. They're the only one with the economics to build. You have to build these at scale, and they're billions of dollars. Got to do it with China. Super exciting. End of it, trade war.
Yeah.
All halted. And so there's these... Science is working, and then politics, religion, and culture just...
Yeah.
And, like, all of a sudden, we're killing vaccinators, or this happened. And so it seems like there's I don't know if you can address it, a foundational human problem, which is every time we get so close, we kind of just flub it because no one cares enough to make it a thing. So I don't know how, but it seems that the really foundational problem is that you're working against everyone else. Yeah. Everyone else is trying to stop you. And so I don't know what to do about it, but it was just, this trade war happens and then screw it. Yeah. We have more pressing short-term trade wars to win.
Yeah. And for a lot of people, the money is the bigger incentive than the nuclear power.
Yeah. And so then I ask, and I don't know the answer, and I was just been thinking through this, if in fact the problem that you're running into is that, you can get people to fundraise, but you can't get people to really care. How do you get people to care?
We've talked about this. It's documentaries. It's like trickster documentaries, like that. What was the
Cowspiracy?
Cowspiracy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you make them, and this actually connects, because what I found, which was interesting, and we did a little bit of a trickster documentary ourselves. I did the fundraiser for Charity Water, and I 2 days or 3 days before my birthday put up an Instagram post, as did you for your birthday. Mm-hmm. And I said, we're doing this. We're raising money. We've raised X amount, social proof. It would mean the world to me if you donated, my friends and family, if you want to get me a birthday present, yada. I did not recognize a single name that donated.
Your birthday. I'm glad yours failed too. I'm not actually. But my birthday fundraiser did, I think, like $100.
Well, we raised a couple hundred. And that's because people that I don't know follow me. Theodore from Russia, just random people who have been impacted by the channel. Yeah. And none of my aunts, none of my cousins, and I know some of them saw it because they liked it. None of the people who commented.
Oh, yeah. Mine is the most liked photo I have. It's like 600 likes. Yeah. If everyone that liked it had donated $1, it would have done 6 times as well.
And so I'm not saying that my friends and family are worse. I'm interested. Okay, why? And I did the math. Our Keanu video, which was on Keanu Reeves, did per view, I think, like 5 times better. So not only did it do better because it got 2 or 3 million views, but on a per person basis, it raised more money. I'll have to run the exact numbers.
That's crazy.
And here's what I came up with. Clearly, my friends and family should be an easier group to fundraise for.
Yeah.
You have to. We hooked him with Keanu. Yeah. And for 10 minutes, we sold them on be like Keanu, be like Keanu, be like Keanu.
And then Keanu's generous.
Keanu's generous. Keanu's generous. Keanu's generous. Yeah. Do you want to be generous like Keanu? Here's an opportunity to do so. Yeah. And there was 10 minutes of winning their attention, earning it, getting them thinking on this train of thought, versus yours was a simple photo, right? Mm-hmm. And mine was a 1-minute video, so I had a little bit of that. But it made me realize that even more important than the relationship you have with someone is how much of their attention and how much they're driving on your same track when it comes time to make that call to action ask. And when you're in front of someone and you're looking at them, guess what? Same track. Now my mom, dad, brother, sister, whoever is going to pull out their phone and donate. But when my aunts or uncles see me on the internet in a second, I haven't won enough of their attention. And it's a great learning for doing this in the future. Completely useless to post these Facebook things. Yeah. But then I thought this. I have seen people that do not have any sort of really powerful social media presence raise like $1,000 for whatever charity they do on Facebook. Have you seen these?
Well, Facebook's better than Instagram, which maybe we should have done Facebook.
I did both.
I didn't. Facebook, if you run it as a donation on Facebook, don't just post your video. I think it shows the number go up, and it's got the network effect. Like it was hilarious. I donated $60 to my friend's charity. I literally don't even know what it was. She was just like, please. I'm looking for money. And I was like, okay, sure. And my grandma called my mom and was like, I'm so impressed with Ben's donation to charity. And my mom was like, how did you hear about the charity water thing? It's not public yet. And my grandma was like, what charity water thing? I'm talking about this leukemia run he donated to. And so, there's that. It shows up on your wall when you donate, and then other people can see it.
And it's got the bar, right?
Yes.
And I think we already had $244,000 raised. Mm-hmm. So when I said, help me get to $300,000, it's kind of the bystander effect. There's all these other people here. Somebody will take care of it. When your neighbors at $25 out of $500 they've decided to raise, I think you feel more involved. I'll donate $25.
Well, you can also move the bar.
You can move the needle.
I think this person that I donated to, I think they wanted $500. Yeah. And I donated $50. You
did 10%.
I just went, okay, if 10 people do this, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's
I don't even know what the cause is, but it's just like, here you go.
So if I'm doing my family, I think I might go micro next time. Or not immediate
ask for
family.
A smaller amount.
Because my parents did donate. My brother did not. I have told him 10 times to do it. And he says no. So I'm going to get him.
I got 2 hard tangents on that.
Sure.
Are we done with the Bill Gates thing?
I'm more interested in, the Bill Gates. Yeah, I'm going to think about that for my life. Because Bill Gates spent billions of dollars and I think has the best of intentions and thinks about this all day long. And I don't know that was the most effective thing to do. So I would like to spend time thinking more about it because, we're donating 1/billionth of what he's donating. So we should consider it. But go ahead.
Well, this is a C transition.
Okay.
We're still grading our transitions.
Sure.
It's about China. And this idea that money runs the world.
Of course.
Did you see what happened with the Rockets?
Yeah, man.
The Houston Rockets?
Yeah.
The general manager of the Houston Rockets sent a 6-word tweet, I think it was. I'm not going to get it right, but I think it's like
Hong Kong.
It's fight oppression, stand with Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And it set the world on fire in the sense that China saw that and went, cool, yeah, no problem. The Houston Rockets, they'll never be shown in China. Mm-hmm. Jerseys were immediately taken off the Nike, which is not run by the Chinese government, the Nike website for all the Rockets players. And China...
Wait, Nike then just reacted to a...
So China went, nice tweet. This is completely unacceptable. Your team is banned. We're going to reevaluate if the NBA...
By banned, they mean we will not cover you. Like, they can't stop the NBA from doing it, though they would if they could.
Your team is not welcome to play in China anymore, whereas they were. The Rockets were the second most popular team in China. You're not welcome to come here and play here. Your jerseys will not be sold here. Your games will not be streamed here. Mm-hmm. Anyone born in China today
will
not know that the Houston Rockets exist. So that was the very first thing they did because of the tweet. Then they went to the NBA and they said, hey, just so you know, if you don't react strongly to this, we might pull the entire NBA. And the NBA went, sure, whatever you want.
Of course, we'll sell you one of our
whatever
own.
Exactly. And so,
of course,
the NBA releases a thing saying that it was irresponsible of Daryl Morey. It's a complicated situation, whatever. The Rockets, the owner, releases a thing saying Daryl Morey doesn't speak for the Houston Rockets. It's a complicated situation, and he's just one person. Daryl Morey shoots out a tweet going, hey, I'm just speaking for myself. Then he deletes everything and just writes an apology tweet because people are threatening to fire him.
Man.
And it was a really, really interesting example. Like I said, Nike got in there.
Did anybody show spine?
No.
Nobody.
No.
Nobody.
And this is so interesting because Nike's got the whole, and I really don't, I'm not trying to compare
Colin
these things,
Kaepernick.
exactly. Nike's got the whole thing of like,
social justice.
Well, they have a catchphrase.
Blah, blah, blah.
It says, stand up for something even if you lose everything. That's their catchphrase. Literally, stand up for something even if you lose everything.
Well, here's what they stand up for. To be clear, they do. Earning more money.
They stand for money. Yeah, that's why they sold the Colin Kaepernick shirts.
Yeah, they did great. They'll stand.
Oh, this is what I thought was interesting. This dude's tweet came out. China said, we don't like this. And then the NBA, his own owner, who's a close friend of his players, James Harden, came out and said, hey, I just want to let you guys know I love our Chinese fans and this and that, which I'm sure, to be clear, like,
well, some people didn't sell him out. The owner didn't sell him out. He said, look, these are his opinions. These don't represent the Rockets.
Let's see if he gets fired or not.
That, I hope that they have the guts not to fire him.
Let's see if he gets fired.
I hope they have the guts not to fire him.
And I don't know, maybe it's a more complicated issue than I thought. Maybe it's an incredibly irresponsible tweet, but I just saw it was fascinating. The Chinese economy is so strong and so important to the U.S. that all these mega billion corporations just immediately kowtowed.
Yeah.
Not one person went, I actually also think you should not beat your protesters or send undercover cops to shoot them.
Yeah.
I, too, believe in this.
Well, I know nothing about the specifics of it, and I think it's important to ground myself in that. Otherwise, I'll speak too certain. But I did have a sense of, for 10 years, I've been hearing that the U.S. ultimately can do nothing. They must accept the pollution that China does. They must accept this. And so when I saw that there was a trade war, I was a little bit happy because there's this sense that, and this might be completely factless, and fact check me if you're smarter than I am or just more informed than I am in the comments, but at least somebody said no. And that hasn't happened. And it's incredible because what I am seeing is America's got its issues, but the level of censorship that is like oxygen in China is...
Dude, you just A-plussed my next topic. Did you know there's protests going on in Iraq too?
No.
Do you know how they deal with their protesters?
No.
They shoot rockets at them.
Oh, I saw the video
we've got
of rockets.
We've got us over here, the U.S.
Yeah.
And I heard so many people recently talk about how the U.S. is falling apart and is going to hell, and it's all just terrible now. And then you've got Hong Kong, where they're actually terrified that China's going to come in and really change and destroy their lives in a way that no one in America's life has been that drastically changed, with a few exceptions. And then in Iraq, they don't like their government, and they're getting rockets shot at them.
Who is shooting them?
I don't know, but I actually pulled up I wanted to bring this in. Let me get the article. The reaction that the government had was pretty wild. Let me pull it up. Okay. So unless this article is just completely full of shit, it said, to restore order, the government has tried completely shutting down the internet, imposing curfews, and firing on demonstrators. Makes you feel lucky to be in the U.S.
Yeah.
When our government doesn't like what we're doing, they don't just cut the internet to the whole country.
Yeah.
They don't fire rockets at you.
No, it's been a while. And Kent State happened, and the National Guard came in. I think 4 people died, and that was a big deal.
I just thought it was fascinating because I was going down the China rabbit hole, which put me on these news stations.
Yeah.
And then I got to Iraq, and I just went, oh my God, we're so spoiled.
Well, so I think that there's, so where I can't speak is the geopolitical, because who knows what those protesters were doing, and who knows the truth of what the Hong Kong did.
I mean, you'd have to really earn it for the U.S. government to shoot a rocket at you.
Sure. And maybe you would have to earn it for the Iraqi government. I have no idea. My greater point is where I do feel like I could speak comfortably is on the human motivation of at every step, which is somebody at Nike or a team of people at Nike, a team of people at the Rockets, this Maury guy, all recognized what China said, which is, I'll take away your livelihood. I will cost you money.
Well, not all your livelihood. Just to be clear, I'm going to take some money from you.
Some money.
Yeah.
You lose some money.
Not all of it.
You'll still have an NBA. And the reaction to that was whatever you want. And personally, that has got to be a lesson for us, which is, it seems like increasingly as you get bigger and as the world becomes more connected, there's a likelihood that somebody's going to threaten you. And they're going to say, don't tell what you believe to be the truth or I'll hurt you. And when you sit on the outside and you see everybody kowtow, you go, I wish somebody would stand up. But there might come a day where it's you. And I
thought about this for this podcast. I was like, I hope that China doesn't then try to take us down.
The only thing that we can do is try to be the change you want to see in the world, which is to say, if China tries to shut our podcast down, to keep telling the truth as best we can, as kindly and respectfully, and I think it's important not to make claims that you don't understand as well. But this is, I think, and it's interesting because sometimes it actually plays out. Jordan Peterson is an example. He was trying to tell what he thought was the truth at the time, and felt censored with the being forced to use particular pronouns for students on a universal level, on a legal level. Whereas individually, if someone came up to him, he would say,
I'll say whatever you want.
Sure, whatever you'd like. But being told, no, you'll lose your job if you don't use the words that we're insisting on a legal level, he said, no, I can't abide by that. I think that whether or not you agree with anyone's particular political stance, you have to admire those people who will put their livelihood at risk in order to tell the truth as they see it.
Yeah.
And I think we have to just keep this in mind for life, because we might be in a position where we have CU being sold in China one day and we say something and they go, we don't like that. And we'll have a choice, money or honesty.
South Park actually literally just did an episode on this last week. It was so timely.
Yeah.
Like 1 week before this all happened, they did an episode about Chinese economy, basically, and censorship.
Yeah.
And they had Disney going in there.
And all of the big corporations, this is unfortunate, will figure out a way to negotiate, deal, etc.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody will go. And it's crazy because as powerful as they are, which is insane, if everybody unionized in a sense and said, okay, you don't want the NBA? MLB's pulling out too. This pulling out too. Like,
I don't know that China would care.
Maybe
I
they
think
wouldn't.
Censorship comes first.
Maybe I think they would, but I'm telling you that there is an amount of pressure. The bully is never bigger than everyone on the playground. He's only bigger than all of you individually. And so I think that there's a sense if everybody tried to do the right thing, this kind of behavior or bullying, I would say, wouldn't stand. They could go, listen, you got to treat Hong Kong as you're a sovereign nation and you do what you do, but other people will disagree and they'll disagree.
Yeah.
It's just it's gross, man. I don't like it. But I hope that guy keeps his job.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It literally happened like yesterday.
He'll probably never be heard from again. That'll be the end of him. Yeah, and everybody's been put on notice. Everybody's been put on notice. This is the thing. By making an example out of him, every famous person, every athlete, everybody with a Twitter account has been told, we'll bury you. Yeah. Not only we'll bury you, we'll bury your company. And then they'll bury you for us.
Yeah.
Your own friends will put the bullet in your head. That's the scariest part.
It's just like the ending of John Wick 3.
Yeah. Your own friend will do it. That's the worst.
Spoilers,
any other?
I guess. John Wick spoilers.
Yeah, maybe just cut that.
Big news!
Coming in from the future, guys.
Dude.
Little.
1 day later, we had to shoot it.
We had a wardrobe change, and we came back a day later because we had originally covered the NBA stuff in China, and then more news came back, and it felt every story's always developing, but it felt wrong to end this one where we did for an entire week.
Great news.
I give credit.
The NBA commissioner is not compensated based on NBA revenue, which is awesome because he came out and he said, I will not police the employees of the NBA. Mm-hmm. I will not censor them. They can say whatever they want. It's freedom of speech. And he said it apologetically, kind of, while trying to be nice to China, because this is going to cost the NBA billions of dollars. But he said, you know what? I'm not going to fire him. I'm not going to censor him. And freedom of speech.
No, it'd be really funny is if tomorrow, as this is going live, this guy is fired.
He's fired.
And we got to shoot it again. No. Just the 24-hour news cycle.
I saw it and I was stoked. I thought it was awesome.
Yes,
because the NBA itself released a press release saying they were apologetic. And it's funny because you can tell there's multiple minds existing in this giant organization. And someone said, get the Chinese revenue.
Yeah.
And they asked the commission. The commissioner said, well, freedom of speech.
Those two things can correspond, meaning he does not represent the NBA is 100% true.
Yeah.
And I will not tell him what he can and cannot say on his own private Twitter account.
Yeah.
Which isn't, again, completely true. So this is part of the issue is I was trying to zoom out and take the content out of what was said. Certainly there are tweets that a GM can tweet that are personal opinions that can get him fired the next day.
Yeah.
So they do police what people say, right? Is that not the case?
I'm sure you could say something.
You could say a lot of things,
yeah.
And I'm sure a million of them
probably
come
just
to
drop
mind.
the N-bomb and you're fired.
Just one slur would do it,
yeah.
To be clear. So it's not that they don't police what they say. It's that the powers that be in this particular circumstance do not add up to enough pressure on Adam. What's his name?
Silver?
This is Aaron Silver? Adam Silver?
Adam
Silver. To make this particular judgment the case. Because I was thinking about this, like, you guys don't police what they say? Are you sure about that? I'm 100% sure there's a lot of Twitter statements that would get you kicked out that are not illegal speech.
Yeah.
And so I've been really interested because everybody is acting like this is a First Amendment right. And I really think it comes down to where your particular incentives line up. So I was just trying to find this before we came back today to shoot. And Fox News is just reveling in this.
Yeah.
They just love it. They're, these NBA players that are always outspoken about X, Y, and Z, all shutting up now about China, the hypocrisy. They're loving it. And I go, well, clearly you guys don't seem to care. So does Fox News not have a big presence in China? What's going on here? And I was thinking, I was like, is there another example of when Fox News was not on the social justice thing with regard to athletes? And Colin Kaepernick, the entire message to him was, shut up and play football, shut up and play football. With this guy, it's, we applaud you for standing up. And so I don't think anyone cares about the First Amendment or the freedom of speech or is thinking of this in a principled way.
Yeah.
It comes down to where your personal incentives are lined up and your politics, basically. So I haven't totally had time to digest what that means. I don't know if you have any reaction.
I do. First, Angel, can you turn the AC off?
Oh, yeah.
I turned it on to make it colder in here, but I don't want that. I don't want it to just the whole time.
Well, yeah. Oh, well. So what is your reaction to that?
No, I agree. I mean, that's not shocking at all.
Yeah.
You're saying that instead of having a principle where they always support the First Amendment, they change it depending on if they like the message.
And to be clear, it's not a First Amendment issue at all. And we all, I think, agree that any organization can choose to not partner with any other person or organization depending on speech that they say, because speech doesn't protect your right to force someone else to form a partnership with you. So I was thinking about it, and as crazy as it is, China and the CCTV have a right to, for whatever reason, say, we don't want to work with you. We don't like what you think, say, or do. No, it is weird that they're to scrub one team from the NBA. Yeah. But they also shut down games.
Well, now they're not showing any NBA preseason games.
Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. No, is CCTV a Chinese broadcasting station, I take it? Yeah. And they're just going basketball does
I have a
not
question.
Exist.
Are there broadcasting stations in China that aren't Chinese broadcasting stations? In the sense I
meant is it ESPN? Is it a larger station? Does it only cover basketball? That was my question.
Oh, I thought you meant, is it owned by the government? Because
certainly.
the answer is yes.
Is it owned by a Chinese person?
Yeah. It's owned by the government.
So
it's in mainland China.
Yeah, there's a lot here to think through, and I'm doing this live because we didn't have time. We're just like, we got to shoot
I think it's the only place you can see NBA games. I think it's their equivalent of League Pass, basically.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to take any particular politics out of this, because what I understand is that for the Chinese government, certainly, and for, I believe, many mainland Chinese, having Hong Kong not have the same laws as the rest of China is like having New York City not have the same laws as the rest of New York, because 100 years ago, the British colonized it and haven't quite given it back yet. So the violence on the streets, but they go, it's ours. It's New York City. Like, you don't get to tell us what to do. And I believe that is the stance of even some Chinese who are in the know and understand some of the violence that is even occurring. They go, well, we're a sovereign nation. This is part of our this belongs to China.
Like California trying to secede.
Secede. Yeah. I mean, we had a civil war. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get to be separate. Now, clearly, the politics of Hong Kong and the Confederate South are different. But I'm trying to pull out principles here and understand that, okay, yeah, China actually is within, I would say, reasonable things. We don't have to work with anybody that we don't want to.
Yeah, of course.
The NBA, reasonable, saying, okay, well, we think your politics suck. But what seems to happen is that everybody is taking a moral high ground, saying that they do or do not support free speech, when that's clearly not the case. It's just if you this particular political thing happens to line up with your interests or not. So Fox News loves free speech, but with Colin Kaepernick, shut up and play football.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to make of it, other than it has nothing to do with free speech for a lot of the pundits talking about it. And of course, the right to free speech has nothing to do with your right to associate with anybody else in a business context.
Sure.
It's complicated stuff, man. I don't know. What do you think?
I just think it's interesting to watch how predictable people's reactions are. You just don't tell me any names, but just tell me how a person is financially compensated.
Yes.
And I can pretty accurately tell you how they fall on this. So the owner of the Rockets, how's he going to react to losing all of China's revenue? He's going to apologize and try to get China's revenue back.
Yeah.
James Harden, who sells a ton of jerseys over there, I'm sure is compensated for being the second most popular player in all of China. How's he going to react? He's going to send a tweet saying that he likes China and he's sorry for his GM. And so it's just like, that to me is the most awesome part, is that you don't have to know anybody's name or face. If I just tell you how their pay is affected, you will have a very accurate guess of if they came out in support or against.
Yeah, it's sad. Well, I would, one potential counterexample in the news, and this is why everybody seems to rally, is South Park, who went, we will take a hit. I don't know how big the hit is, but they will make less money when South Park doesn't run in China.
Yeah, and they made an episode about this, and within a week, not just that episode, all of South Park is banned from China.
So, yes, you hope that...
And I think for that, I mean, dude, you can criticize them on other things, I'm sure, but they do seem to consistently not prioritize profit.
Other things get factored in clearly as well. They want to make a popular show, but I think that's how you want to live, is you want to go, I will take less money in order to do what I think is right. And
I don't think they were shocked when they were banned, and they were banned almost immediately.
They knew. They said, well, how about we go get kicked out of China? Which is funny, and they might wind up, because I haven't watched South Park in 4 or 5 seasons. I'm going to go track down this China episode. Let's watch it, man. We could do a Ben and Charlie react.
Yeah.
Let's go watch that South Park episode. And I got a lot of catching up to do, because I've heard that they dipped for a couple seasons. I felt like around the election, it was just not very funny for me.
Well, this is random, but did you hear what happened with the election?
No.
You didn't. They
thought that
they were positive that Hillary Clinton was going to beat Trump.
Yeah.
So the whole season's arc was coming towards that, and then Trump won, and they just scrapped the whole thing. They were going to have this thing where they ship all the men to Mars and they put them underground, and all they're good for is their semen and their jokes.
Yeah.
And they mail both back to the Earth, and the Earth is only populated by women. Then Trump won. They went, none of this makes any sense.
Oh man.
And so they just threw together the member berries at midnight, the night before it aired.
That makes a lot of sense.
It was airing the night, I think the day after, maybe 2 days after. But yeah, they were just like, scrap everything.
Yeah, throw it out.
They pulled an all-nighter to throw to the season finale.
That makes sense. And that's unfortunately when I stopped watching, because I was like, this is
makes
rambling,
no sense.
incoherent, and not very funny.
No, they came out and said, they're just like, dude, normally you'd write 2 in a presidential candidate race. You know, you'd write one if Obama wins, and you'd write one if the opposition wins.
Romney, yeah.
We didn't write one for if Trump would win, and we got caught holding the bag.
Yeah.
We were not prepared.
Yeah. So let's get back on that South Park train now. Good stuff. Oh, also, just fascinating. And did you see Blizzard?
No.
You like Hearthstone. You're a Hearthstone guy,
well,
right?
I did like Hearthstone, but it's kind of pay to win.
Yeah.
So I just like, I'm out of here.
So there was a Hearthstone tournament that was won by a guy who is from Hong Kong, and in his winner's speech, he said, this is the fight of our generation, freedom to Hong Kong. Blizzard has a clause that says, for any reason, if you upset us or upset our fan base, we will take your prize money away. So all of his prize money was stripped, and he was banned from Hearthstone tournaments for a year. I believe, and this was too unbelievable for me to read, so I couldn't fact check it enough in time, that the 2 announcers who were there were also fired. And that sounds so absurd. That was just what I quickly saw on
for
Reddit.
not like
I feel
reining
bad.
it in.
I feel bad for not doing more research, and I don't want to perpetuate things that aren't true. But that was what I just read, and I looked. I was like, that appeared to be a statement from them. I don't know why.
Yeah.
we've also with the casters is who they cut. I was going, what the heck?
We've also fired half the dev team for no reason, but that we're angry. We're sorry, China.
Everyone went nuts because on Reddit in particular, Free Hong Kong is very popular.
Yeah.
And so the Blizzard subreddit, which apparently happens to be owned by some people related to Blizzard, was locked down. Or maybe just the mods got overwhelmed with the complaints.
Is that guy going to do a GoFundMe or a Patreon or something?
So then another card game wisely stepped in and said, this is horrible. We don't do this. We're going to pay his prize money and invite him to our $500,000 tournament for our tournament. Everybody's, good guys, I'm going to sign up for their game. At least that's what they say. It'll be similar to the whole Equinox thing, which is, everyone's canceling their World of Warcraft subscription.
Wasn't there this reminds me, we're all over the place, but this reminds me of an internet provider. Wasn't there an internet provider that was losing market share over and over and over? And so they came out and they said, we have VPNs included or something like that, where we care about privacy. Like Chrome or Internet Explorer got hacked and they came out. And they were all about privacy.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not because they're all about privacy.
DuckDuckGo.
It's because they're getting crushed.
Yeah,
and this card game, they don't actually care about any of this politics. Mm-hmm. They're just going, we're getting crushed because we don't have as good of a game or as popular of a game. This is our chance to use outrage to our advantage.
Yeah, and I understand it from Blizzard's perspective, which is, let's take China out of it. Never mind that they stand to lose a ton of money, but just pretend like they're having this card game. And then somebody gets on and makes I believe it was hosted in some Asian thing where it's probably going to be more divisive, where there's 1 billion mainland Chinese that might not share the same sentiment as the rest of the world with regard to Hong Kong. And you're going, do you have to do this at our card game?
You know what,
we just won't play cards.
You know what, though? I respect the guy that did it.
Sure, he's from Hong Kong. And
I respect the guy that was like, you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and risk a ton of blowback.
And I think you have to. If you're going to do that.
That's the Gandhi move, right? You go...
Yeah,
piss off everyone because this matters.
I think if you want to respect that, you have to respect people who hold opinions that you disagree with that do the same thing. So people, I know that you don't because but vegans who get in people's faces, or people screaming out of abortion clinics that get that get in people's faces, maybe not directly, but take up a spotlight to shout about something that they think is really important and really wrong.
This guy, I would say the difference is versus the abortion clinic.
Mm-hmm.
This guy didn't go in front of a building where people are trying to go with a sign and scream at them. This guy won something and then gave. It's like, for instance, if you won an Oscar and you made your speech about veganism because you think that
what Chris Pratt did and said we need God. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
which I actually think is like fine.
Sure. What I'm trying to recognize is if I want to give him credit, independent of the argument for which you can assess on its own merit.
And also, I'm not saying his argument is good or bad. I'm saying it's brave. I respect that bravery.
Sure.
He took a financial hit. We talk about on the podcast all the time how the world is run by money.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing what they can to make money. So I always got to take my hat off to the guy that goes, well, what did he win? I'm sure it was material to him.
$50K or something. I don't know exactly.
I don't know his financial situation, but I imagine Hearthstone gamers aren't making a ton of money. Just to be like, listen, I'm going to eat this. I'm going to lose money here. And I'm probably going to get a ton of hate, which sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Because I care about this. It's scary. That doesn't feel good. And so that's all. I just take my hat off to courage.
Totally. And I try to imagine, and I imagine trying to take my hat off to people who might disagree with me on particular topics. Sure. Imagining he'd said abortion is murder, or everyone needs to be able to get free and easy access to abortion. Like whatever side of whatever thing he takes, it takes courage to stand up there and go, they're going to strip me of my money for what I believe in. And I don't have the answer to this, because what kind of world do you want to live in? Let's pretend that you're organizing this Hearthstone tournament and all you've been thinking about is the production and getting the cameras and which card is better. And all of a sudden there's this political thing coming in. It would be understandable for those people to be like, what?
Yeah, of course.
I just wanted to play cards.
Sure. I mean, the flip side is the British government would have loved for Gandhi to shut up, too.
Yeah, of course. And so I guess what we're saying, weirdly enough, is how would you like if somebody... I don't know. We don't really have a platform that people can jump on like this, but were to somehow get on our podcast while on live air and just use that time to dominate their issue that they thought was important.
Why would
you disagreed with it?
I don't have to like it to respect the courage of it, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I'd be pissed, but some part of me would have to be like, it's brave as to do right in front of my face.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. And so that's what I'm trying to split in my head, which is what you're describing. Respect for the courage to put one's finances and reputation and livelihood at risk. And then separately to assess, do I agree or disagree with what this person is saying? And just to make clear, with regards to Hong Kong, I know very, very little about the specifics of it. So, which is why I've tried not to comment too much, other than
as Daryl Morey's latest tweet said, it's a complicated issue.
I'm not being paid by China.
And he's learning from all sides, you know?
I'm not being paid by anyone.
Just like you said. So wise, Daryl.
Fine people on all sides.
So wise.
So, yeah, that was our hop on addendum.
It's just worth saying. Yeah. And again, shout out to the commissioner of the NBA.
And
I bet some of the owners were not pleased with that move.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff, man. I think there's really, really intriguing principles at play when you see certain people take opposing sides. And for me, what's always most fascinating is the personal psychology that goes into it. And I think there's a ton to learn here. And maybe I'll have more next week when I've had time to sort of think this through. But
my thing with freedom of speech is I actually, even for people I don't agree with, think they should be able to say what they want. So Jewish guy, right? Mm-hmm. The neo-Nazis, when they march, they had a 400-person march in the South. Mm-hmm. I actually think they should have a right to do that. But what kills me is when Fox, NBC, CNN, all these news stations cover it. Because if they didn't cover that, then 407 people would know about the neo-Nazi march. It'd be the neo-Nazis and the neighborhood around them. But in an attempt to get clicks, they're profit hungry. The news stations go, we can't allow this, and that. And they create outrage. And then millions of people are thinking about neo-Nazism, and then that helps the platform more than the march ever could have.
Sure.
So weirdly enough, I think whether I agree with you or not, you have a right to say it. What kills it is when, in the name of dollars, organizations give these organizations free media coverage, millions of dollars that they couldn't possibly afford to pay for to promote Nazism.
Yeah, the difficult thing there, I think, is when I heard you say that, I wanted to hear it because that was a stupid sentence. When I heard you say it, I wanted to hear it. My
Cut
goodness.
it, Angel.
No, keep it in, man. That's terrible. I was watching, separate tangent, I was watching Russell Brand the other day, marveling at how eloquent and quick he is, and thinking, I'll practice that on the podcast. So with regard to the neo-Nazi thing, I think it's easy to demonize the corporation and not recognize that the only reason that they can chase those clicks.
No, that bothers me.
If you're not getting what you like.
I don't read the news. I don't have news apps. I don't get alerts to that. But I agree. The other problem with this is that people love to feel outraged. And so all these people that purport to not support Nazis read a ton about neo-Nazis, which makes corporations want to write more about neo-Nazis. So it's a cycle that is definitely fed by the population.
I think it's fed by demand. Yes. I think it's fed by
100%.
It's not a supply side issue where the news is determined we will force neo-Nazi marches down people's throats. It's people have demanded to respond to this type of stuff. And so as with everything that we cover, I do think that the ultimate answer is to check yourself for the things that you click that make you angry, incited, that are actually small beans in the scope of the world.
We talk about all of this recently, like this rise of Nazism, and there's such small numbers at these marches, but people love to talk about it, people love to click it, and so it gets covered. Yeah, and it's a vicious cycle because then it gets covered more because it's making them money.
Yeah, so what we have to constantly check our own emotion when we talk about this kind of stuff, because we are a small part of the media at this point. There are people who watch us and who are giving us their eyeballs in exchange for entertainment, news, etc. So just a good reminder for us is to take a deep breath, because the anger is a cycle. It is a cycle that keeps people clicking things that make them angry and blowing up smaller issues.
We should never link to any other news. That's what we should do.
It's only
we
Ben
only
and Charlie
link
news.
Internal from now on.
Go
Angel,
watch.
No outside sources.
Go
in the
watch
description.
our networking video, Charisma on Command. That's the difficulty, and it's going to be tougher. But we talked about this yesterday, and I think this is the answer. What's the most fundamental problem? It's what people demand. There needs to be, this is so cliche, a change in consciousness whereby neo-Nazi march with 400 people is less popular than help your neighbor out, smile at a friend.
And actually, we need to do this when we think of podcast stuff, because I've seen it on our podcast. When we talk about the James Charles scandal, way more views than if we talk about how can you live a happier life. That title just bombs. No one cares.
So if we are going to talk about these things, which I think we should, because I think that there has to be, I think this is the lamest word, but higher consciousness stuff, I don't know a better word for it, more emotionally separated, trying to improve oneself rather than get angry at the world type stuff, doesn't market itself very well. It stays in these very niche corners of the world. And I think what we are good at, to a degree, and we've done it on our channel, is marketing. We know how to follow the fame of a Conor McGregor and get people to look at our stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we got to do that here.
We need to get really good at the improv game that reminds me of.
Yeah.
So you'll bring up Hong Kong. We'll talk about Hong Kong for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I'll go, that reminds me of Buddhism. And then the title will be Charlie and Ben Discuss Hong Kong.
Yeah.
But really it's Buddhism.
Really, you all need to meditate, and the problems are inside and not in the media.
I would say also using Simple Habit. Yeah. Even though we don't get compensated, I still would say use Simple Habit.
Okay. So that was all. Any other final thoughts before we hop back to the regular podcast? Sorry if this is super out of joint, guys. We're going to send you back now to Charlie and Ben yesterday, who have no idea we're here. They didn't know this would happen. Do you have any? Oh, here's one thing I did this week.
Yeah.
I have my third chakra opened.
Oh.
Yes.
Goody.
It's open now, man.
Dope. How's it feel?
My power center.
Does it feel different?
Well, I was operating at 1/3 power before, and now I'm at full power.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
You did. I did sense a more powerful aura.
No, so it was.
He said facetiously.
So it was interesting, and I am intrigued by all these things. And I sign up for all of these things.
You do
frequently. This was a recommendation of someone that is into this world, and so I went. And it's an interesting dude. He's got charisma. He's got. No one would argue that this person has something, and whether you put it in energy terms or just personality terms, you're at ease immediately with him. You like him immediately.
Did he take Charisma University? How did he do it?
How did he do it? But he must have pirated it.
Yeah.
So he's an interesting dude, and according to him, he senses energy flows, and it flows from your root chakra all the way up, and people get events in their life that shut things down and mess up the energy flow. And so he poked around and went, oh, okay, we're gonna do this. Lean back, deep breaths, breathe. It was interesting. There was one moment that was psychedelic in nature, which I thought was pretty impressive.
That is impressive.
It was. Now, we weren't doing heavy breathing. It was 3 breaths in, then breathe out. But it was 3 breaths in, breathe out without heavy breathing beforehand, and I was I was in it. I was like, okay, good. That's pretty cool, man. I'll give you that. Now,
he also slipped you acid.
And there's nothing to measure at this point.
Yeah.
So I can't.
How do you feel? Do you feel different? Does it feel?
I feel fine. I sent Grace. She walked out convinced that it was real, that he had done something. She cried and this and that, but she always cries and those sorts of things. So I remain unconvinced but interested is what I would say. And so
you're an open-minded, you're critical but open-minded.
Yeah.
Whereas I would say I am skeptical.
Yeah. Well,
I go in thinking I'm going to look for why this doesn't make sense.
So I have that in me too, and Grace doesn't. So when I speak to her, I have to explain to her what a cold read is, because he does a lot of cold reading, which is, okay, so is your dad a tough guy? It's like, okay, like 60-70% of dads are going to be brusque, tough guys that don't know how to show affection. They were born in the 50s. That's what a dad is. And oh, so she's Asian. You come from an Asian background, it very limited with loving expression. Okay, that's a cold read.
Sure.
And then of course he misses some of the cold reads, which you forget about immediately.
Right.
And if you're not paying attention. So there's definitely some cold reading going on, but he, to his credit, is a better cold reader than most, as are you and I. We can talk to somebody and go, something happened in their childhood with their mother or their father or this, and be right 80% of the time, because we've seen the patterns, as has he. So I'm familiar with a lot of the ways that you can create amazing effects, predict amazing things. Yeah. So there's a lot of cold reading going on, which is cool and I'm open to it. I think what often happens with a lot of the new agey stuff is that it has grains of truth in it, that they are capable of creating trance-like states, that people cry, emotional shifts occur. All of these things which are undeniable because they're experiential happen. And the explanation given is often a reach. Yeah. So I'm doing this because I'm tapping into the collective unconscious, and I'm open to that. But if that is the case, then you should have X, Y, and Z powers, which you claim. You should be able to predict these things about me with higher certainty than you're capable of. So you should be able to tell me about my childhood and what the name of my street was if you can go into my past and look around, right? But of course you can't do that. You can only do things that have a...
You can tell I had a tough dad.
You can tell he wasn't even that tough. Yeah, he was a man's man, right? Yeah. So...
Ooh, I hope he watches the podcast. He'll really enjoy that you just called him a man's man.
You think so?
Yeah, you don't say much nice about him.
Is that nice? See, you think that's nice. That's the difference. He's a man. That's good. So what else do we have? You have any other topics?
Yeah, I don't want to belabor it, but I figured I should say it on the podcast since we talked about the preamble. Tried the more vegetarian diet for 2 weeks. Accidentally lost, I forget if it was 5 pounds or 10 pounds, but like lost noticeable amounts of weight, felt low energy, and started having headaches. So I think it was just due to lack of calories.
The vegan diet, not the vegetarian, right?
It was vegetarian.
Okay.
But I think it was probably lack of calories. I'm sure there's a way to get clever with it, but I was crushing guacamole and nuts, and I was trying my best to eat a lot.
Yeah.
And so after 2 weeks of it, this girl I'm seeing just went, why don't you just go back to what you were doing before that made you feel good? So I'm back to what I was doing before that made me feel good. Sorry.
Which is pescatarian.
Yeah.
Got it. With chicken. So it's
just no mammals.
No cows and pigs.
No mammals. Oh, no octopus, basically. No big brained animals. But yeah, that experiment failed. The trailer to the documentary got me really excited. The Tennessee Titans are all vegan. I don't know how they do it, but
that's the end of it.
I couldn't do it.
So what else do we have, Angel? Any other? Is that the?
Yeah, that's it.
What else do we have for this week?
Because I came out on the podcast.
So
adamant that I was going to try it. Like, yeah, here's the update. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I experimented. I didn't like it.
I dropped it. What we got?
So I've got some current events. The first thing I have here is that California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill to allow college athletes here in California to earn money for their names and likenesses through endorsement deals.
That's super cool.
Yeah, through endorsement deals. So the college won't pay them. They still don't get a salary, but they can now use their image to get endorsement deals and sponsorships, and even just make a YouTube channel or monetize their Instagrams, for example. That's something they couldn't do before.
Wow.
Of course, the NCAA is not happy at all. And has actually threatened to not allow California teams to compete for championships.
It's China all over again.
Dude, it's so ridiculous.
It's China all over again.
The most ridiculous part is when I first heard this, that the athletes were going to get paid, I thought, thank God. Now universities will have to bid for the likes of Zion Williamson and pay him $10 million to play because he's worth $80 million.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
The universities still get their free child labor.
Yeah.
What Zion can do is sign a shoe deal 1 year earlier. And they're still fighting it, which is absurd. You guys absolutely bone these students.
Yeah.
You should have to pay them. You should have to bid, which is what I thought. So I think it's hilarious that they're fighting.
I want to sit in so badly because, again, I presume they're humans like the ones you pass in the street on an NCAA meeting. And I want to hear the rationalizations they have. And I want to...
That's the same. It's the Houston Rockets and Nike. It's just the money, though.
No. People can't... I don't think people can so brazenly admit to their selfishness.
Oh, I think the NBA said that China was a huge revenue and we had to get in front of it. I don't think the NBA thought about the protests.
Okay, yes, and here's why. Because the NBA, 364 out of 365 days goes, we are setting up a really fun game for people to play that brings the world together, and today we have to sell out. Okay?
Sure, but I just think that they knew they were
the
out.
NCAA, the entire mission of their organization is to exploit 18, 19, 20, and 21-year-olds.
Yeah.
And yes, also there's a field hockey team that they get some money too, but like let's not kid ourselves with those
they get so much less though.
With the stupid commercials about 90% of athletes, yada yada yada. Yeah, but 90% of your revenue is football, basketball at these huge schools.
Yeah, and by the way, your expenses is your football coach.
So my point is that the NCAA is going to have to do cognitive dissonance in order to explain how they get up every single day and exploit these kids. Versus the NBA goes, I did a selfish thing that one time. And so I would love to sit in and hear them talk about this. Because I guarantee you they're not going, they're going to steal from, like, we're definitely taking advantage of these people.
Yeah.
You saw it. It was, there's a great Django Unchained. Perhaps the most interesting psychological thing in there is when Calvin Coley, or whatever his name is, Leonardo DiCaprio, has all these skulls. Mm-hmm. Why does he have all these skulls? Because he has to. He has to explain why his lifestyle makes sense. Mm-hmm. That's like, why waste the time? Why? Yeah, because if you were to say, oh no, I'm just exploiting other human beings who are just as smart, capable, and worthy of freedom as I am.
Yeah,
you can't do that. So I want to see where their skulls with the dimples are on the NCAA. Sure. How they tell themselves this is a good thing for these athletes. We're not going to let California, USC compete in a championship. Oh my God. And these are.
Well, I don't know why the NCAA cares at all about them being allowed to get sponsorships or have YouTube channels. That's ludicrous to me.
I think it's like China, man. You crack the door on saying that these kids deserve money. And also that changes the economics, because all of a sudden my payday doesn't come after I've done it all for you. My payday comes while I'm doing it for you. And so it puts power in the hands of their slaves.
I really, 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 really hope that it stays, because you're going to see such an influx of talent to California.
Yeah.
Every other state will pass this law.
There you go. You nailed it.
Before it even happens.
You just nailed it.
It won't last one season.
You just nailed it.
I'm going to go to Duke. Hey, did you know if you go to USC, you can make $5 million next year?
Yeah.
I'm declaring for USC.
If you go to the University of Sacramento, you're going to have super teams pop up everywhere.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
And so you hit it, which is if one state does this, they all do it.
Oh, it's over.
And if they all do
pass these laws. So Alabama, you think they're going to just lay down and
then
watch
guess what
all
California's going to say next? They're going to go, well, what if we remember that year where we were dominant?
Yeah.
What if we paid players?
Yeah.
What if we let the free market operate here and everyone else had a not free market? You think we'd get better talent? They would again, and then every state would open it up. So they see that a crack in the door, it's like a camel coming in the tent. He's got his nose in, man. He's all the way in.
I want it.
Me too.
I want it.
I would love if they just had to pay these
Hilariously, for the consumer, it just results in better talent, because Zion wouldn't leave Duke.
Wouldn't be in a rush.
He'd go, I'll stay another year. I really like all these guys, and I'm already making money.
Having a great time. It'd be interesting.
You'd get more talented teams. The fans would win.
But, and then again, pulling it back to yourself, the question is, how can you identify if you work at an NCAA-like organization and are doing NCAA-like things? And I think internet marketing is dangerous. Like we're swimming in a swamp. Let's not kid ourselves. And it'd be very, very easy. And I actually do think we do a good job, but we should have a meeting to sit down and really question how might we be starting to move in bad directions in order to capture more market share or whatever. Because I see constantly via Henry, my brother, he sends me these internet gurus, and then they show that how much money they're making. We've talked about this, but I can't get over it. And then their student is the next ad you see, and they show how much money they're making. And at every level, this is how much money I am making teaching people how to make money. And you have a grandpa who is teaching someone who is down to here, and at every level there's people teaching people how to make money by doing an online course,
and no one's actually
producing anything other than how to make money. And it's at no point is there a product or information related to not making money. So we need to make sure that we don't live in that, because certainly a lot of our colleagues do, and it'd be very easy to fall into. Buy Charisma University, everyone. Link in the description.
So you want me to bag the how to make money course that I was working on?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No. I think.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, and I want to make this distinction, because I am not anti courses on how to make money.
Yeah, if our friend Justin, who runs a bone broth company that's been very successful,
that you've seen in stores,
started a company about how to make money in consumer products.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's specifically the people that are teaching. They are online coaches teaching you how to be an online coach. And that's when it becomes a pyramid scheme.
And
they have no success outside of that.
Yes, that's the big thing. How much money would they have left if you took all of the income related to teaching people how to make money away? Yeah. So if you did that from Tony Robbins, he's still got hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's a fair point. Tony Robbins teaches people how to make money, but he's got
take that
$800 million.
Take that away from him.
And 30 of them came from that.
Yes. And in what order did they come is the other thing.
Yeah.
So what were you doing before? And if you made it without teaching people to make money and you went, I'm going to turn around and teach, God bless, you're probably an excellent teacher.
Yeah,
and you're one of the ones that we need more of.
We need you in the swamp of pyramid schemes.
Yeah, and it's also, I see this, the ad copy, which is fascinating because the big thing now is do an online course. We have an online course. And the promise is, even if you don't know anything, have a thing, this, like, you could do an online course. And it's great. Now we have coaches teaching health that aren't good at health and fitness.
Yeah. I can't even tell you this. So we reached out to someone who was super helpful in our journey
how
to be an entrepreneur. So I wanted to sell his course, Marketing Step by Step, which is an incredible course on marketing.
I recommend it all the time.
And he doesn't have I don't think he knows this, but his team doesn't have an affiliate program set up for Marketing Step by Step. So what his team said was, what if you did virtual coach? That's where we have all our affiliates. And I went, I don't want to create virtual coaches. I want to teach people how to be entrepreneurs, how to market, how to start any business. Well, what you can do is you can affiliate for this thing where we teach people how to teach people. And that's what they have affiliate set up. Which
we can't do the other program.
They do not. I emailed them back and said, will you please set up an affiliate center for Marketing Step by Step? I don't think it's that complicated to set up an affiliate center.
Here's the other thing. Or just have a purchase page, because you don't. Can't even. I tell people to go buy it, and it's, we must wait on this email list to get it, and they want to buy it because
just make a website called marketingstepbystep.com.
I don't need to get an affiliate fee. I just want to recommend it. I think it's great. Yeah.
So that was interesting to me because they have a great course on entrepreneurship, which they don't promote because it's more profitable to promote their How to Be a Virtual Coach program.
And there's this thing that's being sold, and we know several of them, and we've met them over the course of our journey. The idea that I think that there's a discrepancy between what makes an excellent player or performer and what makes an excellent coach. They're not the same. But I do think that a coach needs experience as a player, and preferably successful experience as a player, in order to just understand what they're going through. And the pitch that's being sold to these life coaches and business coaches is, you don't need to have done anything related to the industry or to have related to their marriage. You could be a marriage coach without ever having been married if you understand these human. And it's okay. There's an element of universality to the human experience. Yes, I agree. But you're going to be more effective and if you've been there. So that's the other pitch that I often see made, is you don't have to ever have been successful doing anything. Being a coach is completely different. And I get, I'm on all those email lists that want to.
No, you'd like your fitness coach to be fit, your charisma coach to be charismatic, and you'd like your wealth coach to have made money before he became a wealth coach or she became a wealth coach.
And there's even like the guy, what's the guy's name? Michael Pollard, who I don't know is in great shape these days, or Arnold Schwarzenegger. He might not be fit today, but he can still teach you about it. Like, for sure. I don't care where you have to have done it at some point. So, anywho.
All right, rant over.
What else do we have?
So this next one's not super serious, but it's just something I thought was interesting. It's sort of a little twist on cancel culture. So a 24-year-old guy named Carson King held up a sign that was shown on ESPN's College Game Day. It said, "Busch Light supply needs replenished," with his Venmo. You guys can take a picture.
Okay.
So that went viral immediately, and he got a ton of donations, and he immediately announced that it was just a joke, but that he was going to donate all the money to a local children's hospital. And so Venmo ended up deciding to match his donation, and he got a bunch more. He ended up raising over $1 million.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so he made a ton of money that he was going to donate to this children's hospital. And they a newspaper called the Des Moines Register did an article about him and about the whole thing. And at the end, they mentioned some tweets they had found from his past. Which were racist in nature. So King did have to apologize. But then, ironically, everybody was so annoyed about it that they went back, found out who the reporter was, looked at his Twitter, found his old tweets, and released those. And then now the reporter, Aaron Calvin, he got fired from his job at the newspaper. And now he's the one being attacked, and he's the one being canceled on Twitter.
What a world.
There's a tweet mafia.
That's fascinating. So the guy as jokingly accidentally raises $1 million. Donates it, and somebody writes an article about how he's a racist, and then that person is fired because he tweeted bad things as well.
Essentially, yes. That's basically what happened.
Fascinating. What a world.
I feel like it's Peaky Blinders, Sopranos, just there's these different things, and they just kill you, and then you kill them, and then you kill one of theirs, and they just go back. It's just Twitter assassination, man. It's crazy.
It is interesting, and I guess you just got to go, when you're a reporter, you're just going for the clicks. But it is an interesting move to criticize someone's Twitter while having that vulnerability yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think what his thought is, which is fascinating,
I'm not famous.
I'm not famous.
No one will go after me, yeah.
And guess what? Neither's that guy until somebody took a picture of him, right? This is this thing. You can become famous in an instant and be destroyed in an instant and forgotten in the next instant, which is... Yeah, this is just a normal dude with a sign that was gone at. That's crazy, man. And I guess for this person, and I wonder for how many, it's protocol to click on their Twitter and scroll. That's news reporting.
Well, it's also interesting. It's like, this guy donated $1 million to charity. He's not going to then go on to do anything else. He'll just go back to living his life. I mean, I don't support racists, but who cares, in the sense that he was racist before and he's racist after, but he gave $1 million to charity, and this is a non-issue and will never come up in the news again. Like, it just seems like a weird...
Well, essentially, and also what a tweet is something that someone thought or said 5 years ago, which is why are we talking, like, this guy has said millions of words between the date of this tweet and today, some of which were funny, some of which were attempts to be funny and weren't, some of which were terrible, some of which were probably amazing, like, here's $1 million, Children's Hospital.
I can't believe he donated it.
Well, don't listen, he's not an amazing whatever, he's just a guy with a sign.
But I mean, dude, most people, so if they matched it, that means he got $500,000 of donations.
Then this is what I thought. This is what I thought. I've been trying really freaking hard to raise money. There's this
he beat us.
He crushed us, man. He crushed us. There's a lesson here, which is matching corporate donations. We need to get matched. We got to get some company that wants
YouTube.
We have gotten no mainstream coverage for any of it.
Yeah.
And people have raised far less. YouTuber raises $30,000 because they know how to play the PR game, and then that compounds it. I kind of like it. Don't get written up by anyone. And I don't know that I want to change that, but for the purpose of doubling that sort of stuff, it's worth considering.
I'm pretty confident that we haven't tweeted anything racist. So
I'm pretty confident that I've never tweeted anything.
Yeah, but I'll make it your photo if it goes bad. Right now it's both of us, but as soon as it goes bad, I'll just swap it out. You don't even know how to access it.
What's that?
You don't know how to access our
No,
Twitter.
I can't access any of our social media.
I'll just swap it out.
I don't know how to be on any of it.
Change it from Charisma on Command to Charlie Hoopert.
And write a few more horrible things in there on your way out.
But put myself in the third person.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, Ben's a piece of shit because
Ben's been holding me back, but here's what I really think. Now that this account is all mine. Yep.
Saw Ben say everyone should have equal rights. Gross. # gross. Signed Charlie Hoopert.
So what else do we have?
A nonprofit organization called Safe House. Oh,
I just realized I could take you down so bad.
Yeah, but
be on the watch, dude. Stay on my good side.
Stay on my... Yeah, you have all the accounts. What else is it, Angel?
It's a nonprofit organization called Safe House, and they proposed opening a site in Philadelphia where opioid addicts can safely use their drugs.
Oh, this is sick.
They have these in other countries, but there's none in America yet because of some of our laws. The point would be, so they won't provide drugs or encourage the use of them. They simply allow a safe space for people who are already going to use drugs to come in with their drugs, and they provide safe needles and equipment
so that people don't OD or get HIV.
Right, and they also have overdose antidotes and oxygen and anything people would need, and there's medical professionals.
So you're going to do heroin. You go there to do it. They give you a clean needle and a medical staff.
Got it. So my one thought is, and this is what would make this amazing for me, is collect data and see if these people are more likely to get off heroin than those not provided with this. Because is this a privately held organization?
I believe so.
Okay, then do whatever you want.
Yeah,
do whatever you want. I thought this was publicly funded, at which point I go, okay, is this the best way to spend public funds? I'm open to the experiment, but the goal, if it were publicly funded, is to not be paying for it.
But it's one step closer to what I actually want, which is just for them all to be legal. and for them all to be done in safe spaces.
Yeah.
So in the same way that you drink in a bar, just like you want to do heroin, you go to the heroin place. You want to do cocaine, you go to the cocaine place.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you don't have random cokeheads starting fights in bars.
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't have massive Mexican cartels making money on cocaine.
Yep.
Because it's being sold legally. You would cut down on so much crime.
Yeah, be incredible. And potentially, I was talking to a guy who has been very involved in the homeless community. And we had a really interesting conversation. I asked him, I said, does this ever change? Are these, do people get in and out, or what happens? He said, well, there's actually some data on this. And what we found is that it takes 7 to 14 interactions for somebody to be open to help. Like, they have a problem in their life. Either at the very least, they're not interested in a job, or they have a drug problem or a mental health problem or something else. And the first time you give them a sandwich, they just want the sandwich. Yeah. Second, third, fourth. It takes these 7 to 14 times. And if you say, can I help you further? Would you like a blanket? It takes 7 to 14 times before they will address or get therapy, before they will begin to address a root issue, which is their alcoholism, their something or other. And I wonder if it's similar with these drugs, which is you come in, you get to know these people, you're doing heroin all the time, you're ashamed when you go out, but they're kind to you. And then
at some point they're like, yeah, what's going on in your life?
And you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. Like, can you help me? And they trust you. So that would be amazing. And it kind of matches my understanding of what drives drug addiction, which is loneliness, fear, discomfort, all of those horrible feelings. And that, having someone just be like, listen, I'm here, if you need help, I'm here, that eventually someone will just go, okay, I hope, but I don't know. So collect data. That'd be cool.
One last thing on the subject. The Justice Department actually does not agree with it and sued the nonprofit organization, but a federal judge ruled that it doesn't violate the law and is going to let it go through.
What's going on? It's so fascinating that we have these traditional, I don't know if people...
Drugs are bad. I think it's just the catchphrase. It's just the government catchphrase.
And I think beyond just incentives, I think my guess is that this is personal, where these people grew up in history. Beyond any, like, I need the money from the pharmaceutical industry or whatever. It's just, oh, that's terrible.
Did you ever see the Bill Burr on this?
No.
Bill Burr's got a great bit about how it happens that old people have different beliefs than the current generation.
Because they're kids, right?
And so you're a person. You're growing up in the world. You're paying attention to the news and the environment around you, and you're open to change. You're in college. You're learning new things. And then you have kids.
Yeah.
And you're just running around in diapers, doing this, trying to make money.
Watching Teletubbies.
You just go into a hole. Yeah, you're watching Teletubbies. You're reading children's books. 20 years later, you come out, and the whole world has changed in terms of there's ZERS or there's whatever it is.
Gay marriages.
Gay marriage is like super encouraged.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that you're a bad person. It's just that when you were raised, this was not the case. And then you put your head down for 20 years because you had a kid, and you come out and you're like, what?
It's like when you haven't seen your family in a while and your little cousins are like 6.5 feet tall. And you're like, what the heck?
Exactly. No, Bill Burr does it great. And he's not excusing anything. He's just saying this is why this is happening.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. It's really great.
And these people live in, like we all do, bubbles of like-minded individuals who all tell them the same thing and have very limited experience, and probably, if they do have a kid that's on heroin, are deeply, deeply ashamed of it and bury that. So, hope it works. What else?
That's it for current events. Do you guys want to do questions?
Questions. Let's do it.
Fan questions.
The first question comes from YouTube user the Venkster94.
Okay.
How do you be empathetic to someone who is struggling with something while also not? Sorry, let me start over. How do you be empathetic to somebody who is struggling with something while also getting them to take action to get better? I've heard that comforting someone is not the same as giving advice, but it's hard to watch someone you love self-sabotage or do things to hurt themselves. Is there a good way to do both?
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to jump in? So whenever people ask me how to change other people, increasingly as I get older, part of my answer is always, at the base level, accept that you can't. You can influence, which might increase your probability of getting a shift in them, but there's nothing I can say, and you need to let go of the hope that if I do this, then they will change.
It also depends what they're doing.
Sure.
If someone is complaining about their consistent relationship issues and they say, I don't know what to do, that's a great opportunity to go, would you like me to give you my advice? But if they're saying, I got cheated on and it's horrible and I'm so depressed and I just feel so betrayed, that is an opportunity to comfort them and not necessarily to go, well, do you want to know my advice?
Well, regardless, I actually think that's a great question, and it can be sometimes obtuse, but I've said it, you've said it. Is this a conversation you want me to listen, or is this a conversation where you'd like my advice to try to change things?
They will pick both options depending on how they're feeling.
So I think that's one of the good ones. And it also, someone who is dwelling in complaining might feel the pressure in that situation to say, oh no, I want advice. And at which point, okay, they're on the record asking for advice. And that will encourage them to be more consistent in following through with their advice. Now, if you find that you've asked this person, do you want advice? They say yes, you're giving them advice. They don't take the advice. Next time this comes up, go, look, we've talked about this before. I asked you if you wanted advice. You didn't take it. I don't think you want to change this. And I don't even mean that in a mean way. So I'm game or I'm not game to listen to you complain.
That is a powerful sentence I've heard you say, though. To just point out, we've talked about this. We talked about what you should do. We agreed on what would be a good next step, and you didn't take it. I don't think that you want to fix this. I've seen a lot of people kind of that makes them realize that they're not actually trying to fix the problem.
Sure.
It's a very powerful sentence.
Yeah, and I think should be said, this becomes easier when you let go of changing them and stopping them from hurting themselves. It's not an attack. It's just this is what I'm witnessing in you, and so I'll behave not like a psycho who continues to give the same advice repeatedly. Just let's get on the same page. You don't want to change this, and that's where you are.
That is, yeah, that is.
that is the case, and I am willing to listen to you. Or right now, I'd rather not commiserate over the same problem.
It also depends on where you're at.
Yeah.
If you want to be the person that they are leaning on and you like that role, go for it. If you don't find the conversation enjoyable and you've given them advice and they don't take it, you do it. You can at some point just be like, listen, if you want to talk about how to fix this, I'm happy to be here. But if we're just going to talk about your significant other, but then you're going to keep dating that significant other, let's just talk about something else.
Yeah.
I don't need to keep hearing about why they suck if you're going to keep dating them.
Yeah. The last thing that I would say is that use your judgment here with what the circumstances. If they're complaining because they just lost a parent, they're going to need more time and space
and comfort
rather than advice of ways to get over this, because that's a devastating loss. So depending on whatever it is in their life, you need to use your own judgment of what is an appropriate grieving, complaining, comfort span here, and at what point would it be most healthy for this person to shift into changing, or to have me no longer be there as that crying shoulder. But I do think that there's a time in almost any situation for comfort. It just doesn't last indefinitely.
Cool.
Luke asks, what practices or actions can one implement to alleviate imposter syndrome and self-doubt that lead to a lack of action?
Oh man, we did a video on this. See if I can remember my points.
Let's just link to the video in the description.
I'll link to the video and I'll touch it very quickly. I know that one of the things that I mentioned in there was building up your skill set is certainly a good thing to do. Some people need to have imposter syndrome, and we talk about them, and some people don't.
Imposter syndrome also tends to go away with reps.
Yeah.
So weirdly enough, the action the question is, how do I get rid of imposter syndrome so I can take action? Weirdly enough, if you force yourself to take action consistently, it tends to make imposter syndrome go away.
Yeah, and there's let's give an example. The coaching industry is one that we've talked about before. So you've never done coaching, you haven't done much in your life, and you want to be a life coach. Well, the imposter syndrome that you're feeling is appropriate in that scenario, especially if you're thinking about charging money for it. And so you're not taking action, getting on the phone calls, trying to be a life coach. I would say that's a good thing. But what you can do is you can shrink that action, and you can go, okay, what is something that I wouldn't be an imposter at? Maybe free coaching to a friend in my life, and let's get some reps, and like that friend lost weight, got a boyfriend or a girlfriend, did better on their test or in their workplace. So shrink the magnitude of the action, reduce your pay, reduce whatever it is to the point at which you are no longer an imposter, but a volunteer or a helper. Then take that track record and apply it to the next phase, which is professional or whatever it is in your circumstance. And just watch the video. It's probably better than that. What else we got?
Yasmin asks, what do you think about the concept of community? In the past, we humans used to live in tribes and tight communities, But with time, the model kind of shifted, and now I feel like we have lost the sense of community, and everyone usually lives lives more for their own self than for the group. This affects me in bad ways, as I have a hard time finding a community I belong to because of the lack of communities, be it large families or whatever. Have you ever felt this way as well? If so, how do you deal with this sensation of feeling like you are alone in the world?
That's a big question.
I'm curious what your take is, because I feel like you don't feel like you need a community. I feel like you're very big into self-sufficiency.
Yeah. Well, I think that with everything in life, there's a good side to the individualistic society which we live in, which is that if you see the more communal-based society, the individual often gets suppressed and disappears for the benefit of the group. So individual opinions can be pushed to the side. You're in a religious community, you're not really feeling it. Guess what? Shut up and be part of this anyway. So there's a wonderful part of how individualistic we are, and I feel like I've explored that pretty thoroughly. But I do think that community is important, and I think that one of the downsides of not having a community is that it trains people, I was talking to Paul about this, to become little hoarding fiefdoms in and of themselves. And I mean that like financially. So whereas if you lived in a community and you had a surplus of money, what you would probably do is put that back into the community, people who needed it, knowing that you could count on that community to cover you one day. Because we don't have a community, it's like my community is my bank account. Because the only person that's going to be there for me if stuff gets bad in my life is not my neighbor whose name I don't know. It's not anybody on my street. It's me. So I do think that communities are valuable. I think I don't lean on, well, I just have a small community, you know? I just have you and a couple of my closest friends and my family. You like a wider community. Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, it's tough. So it's a little bit different than this person. I love community. I love big friend groups. If I could get my 25 closest friends to go in on a mansion like when we were in college and had a frat house, I'd absolutely do it. The thing I wrestle with is in LA, there's a lot of people that I'm acquaintances with who I could see more. But I don't enjoy their company as much as I enjoy yours. I haven't found a lot of people that I really love spending time with.
Yeah.
And so my thing that I wrestle with is, do I make the effort to see this person in the name of community, just in the name of number of friends? And I go, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to hang out with my favorite people. And what I've lost is a large number of favorite people. Whereas in college I had, let's say, 10.
Yeah.
When we moved to Brazil, there were 6 of us and we were very close. And then we met a 7th guy. So there were 7 of us and we were all really close friends with each other, with a couple exceptions. And in LA, it's you and Henry. And I would love to go back to having 7 people that I loved as much as I love you and Henry. My thing is I go out, I meet people, I join improv groups, I join basketball leagues, and I meet people I get along with, but they're just like, okay. So then I don't keep in touch with them.
We've really deviated from the question, but I'm curious. Do you think you have a higher standard today than you did in college or Brazil? Why was it easier for you to find more people then than it is today?
Well, when we moved to Brazil, we were putting ourselves out there a lot. So prior to moving to Brazil, we were teaching charisma to hundreds of people. And then we cherry-picked our favorites. And they were all fun, cool, entrepreneurial, willing to quit their jobs or drop out of college to move to Brazil with us. And so that was a really great filtering process. Whereas when I join a random improv class or a random pickup basketball league, it's like, this guy's really funny. That's really all we have in common.
Yeah.
And that's cool. But I have someone who's funny and intelligent and philosophical and an entrepreneur.
Well, here's what I think is kind of might even break that. You have so many close friends from your frat. And I think that if you joined a basketball league with those guys who you wound up very close to, you'd be like, that guy's cool. He's okay.
Yeah.
I think what frat and army and these things do is they force bonding. And it's by design. It's Hell Week. And interestingly, I think the lesson of fraternity is if you want community, force yourself to hang out with 30 people for an extended period of time. And 10 of them will become your closest friends. That seems to be what happened, right? In the army and in all of these brotherhoods.
Point.
So I bet you there's the dude from improv that you were friends with. If he was in your frat, he'd been one of your boys, man.
Yeah.
You guys would be super freaking tight. You'd play video games, you'd hang out, you talk but because you have limited
there's also
exposure,
in the adult world, there's proximity thing.
Yeah.
The fraternity, we'd literally live together before we were close. So when you wanted to go to the gym, you just walk around the house.
Sure.
Gym. 6 of us go to the gym. Every single day you're hanging out all the time. That guy, he lives 40 minutes away.
And he's got to come in for
lunch. And he has a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
So we actually have gotten dinners, lunches, but we'll hang out maximum once a week for an hour for a meal.
Dude, and think of Brazil. Okay, he's our buddy Reed. Why did Reed get added in Brazil but not in college? Because you had no other option. Mm-hmm. I love Reed, but you couldn't speak Portuguese. So you had the guys in the home or Reed.
Who lived 3 minutes walk from us?
3 minutes walk from us. And it meant that, imagine if everyone in Brazil spoke English. You would not be as close to Reed as you are. Not even close. He would have been a guy that you met for lunch and hung out with a handful of times. I think weirdly enough, people are capable of bonding with a far wider range of people than they recognize.
Interesting.
And then it's when they're forced into pressure cookers with people that they learn about them, find more commonalities, and stay tighter. So
to add on to your community, you kind of got to force time with the person.
Yeah.
A lot is what you're saying.
And so I went to this Choice Center thing, right? Choice Center it's an intensive 4-day weekend, and then you come back in a 4-day weekend, and it's a 100-day thing, and you're on the phone with everybody all day, and people they're into it. They all love each other so much. And these are people, there's one 60-year-old grandma mother, there's one 22-year-old guy who has never had a job. They couldn't be more different, but they wind up incredibly close. And so I actually think the ingredient for community is limited options. Weirdly enough.
You know what? That actually stands with what I was just thinking. So we have a guy who lives on our hall that we could potentially be pretty close friends with.
Sure.
And you don't get closer than that. He's on my hall.
If he were in your frat, you guys would be so close. So close.
But he has his friend group and I have my friend group. And so if I asked him to grab food, he'd probably say yes once. Mm-hmm. But if I asked him to get lunch and then the next day I asked him to get lunch and the next day I asked him to lunch, he would probably be like, what's this guy's deal? What's going on? And I think it's because in LA there's millions of people and there's pre-existing friend groups. Yeah. And so you can't sprint to that closeness in the same way that you can in a fraternity where it's like, we all live together. It's like, we live together. And if this were Brazil, by the way, if everyone else in this building and in the city spoke Portuguese and he spoke English and I spoke English, we would hang out every day.
Incredibly
We'd
tight.
hang out every day.
You'd be super close.
Yeah. That's interesting. And so it is, if you want a community, live in a small place without a lot of options might be the best answer.
And that seems to bear the truth if you look at where do communities exist. Small towns where everyone knows everybody's business. My sister left LA.
She lived in Santa Barbara, loved the community. There was 20 of them and they got together every Saturday and Sunday to do barbecues and sailing, whatever. Came to LA, had a lot of friends, but it was just spread out. And she said she really struggled with the community. Moved to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and she said, we're building a community. Yeah. Chattanooga, Tennessee is small feel, and these people are down to hang out every single weekend because
there's not many people
not a
your
lot
age.
to do.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people. Yeah, it's interesting.
So we're noodling through this clearly as we stumble on this question. I think community is important. I think community. I would love if our friends from Brazil lived here, but weirdly enough, I'm not willing to put myself in the pressure cooker to make more friends like that because I don't like shrinking my freedom. Let's go back to the question, and then you and I could talk about what we ought to do in our lives. What do you do if you're feeling alone in the world? A couple things. I think I did make a video on this, on alone versus lonely. I struggled with this for a while. There is a massive difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Mm-hmm. And you can really, really individually cope with this by finding personal things that you're fascinated by and love to do. Reading, whatever it is for you. So that's the first thing. And then in terms of building these communities, I also made another video, which is, I think it was called like How to Make Friends After College. And the answer that I would say is it's the hub spoke thing, right? So people, especially if you're not connected to friends, are experiencing what we are, which is they have their own stuff going on. So when you invite people, bring different groups together. If you're going to go out to dinner, don't, invite one guy and then one other person that he might not know that you think he would get along with. And it doesn't have to be dinner. It could be a fun event. It could be an escape room. It could be a virtual reality thing. If you make the event the centerpiece and you're the organizer of that event and it's something people want to join individually, then you'll be able to get more momentum going. So I know people have done game nights for people who like board games and that kind of stuff. Could be a video game thing, whatever it is. But be that hub, I think. And I think community is important. And especially if you don't feel like you have anyone, like you don't even have 3 or 4 closest people, then it's absolutely worth working on. But yeah, man, it's a bigger question in terms of the infinite options of LA means that you make no close friends.
Yeah.
Which is...
Well, and friends is different than community, too. Like, we have a friend who does what you're proposing. Every single Saturday, he throws a beach games day. Mm-hmm. And we went once. And I like the guy. And I consider him a friend.
Yeah.
But we're not in the same community.
Yeah.
And it's because we're 20-minute drive away, and neither of us would be willing to make that drive every day.
But if everybody spoke Portuguese,
yeah,
we'd probably go way more often. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, it's oddly enough that freedom is what stops you from the idea that you could make friends with anyone is what stops you from actually making close friends with anybody in particular.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
All right.
That was a terrible answer. That was probably the worst fan question we've ever answered.
Listen, we gave our experience.
All right. Anything else? Is that it?
That's it for questions.
All right. Sorry about that. It just kind of set me on an inside tangent. Nobody answered our phone calls today. If you guys want to call in, the link is in the description, and just be aware that it's Mondays, middle of the day Pacific time is when we normally do our texting and our calling.
Yeah, so we'll probably call around 2 p.m. Pacific. So
if you want to chat. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon. And bye, Charisma University.
We love you.
Later.
You want to get food?
Sure.